You're on a path in the woods, and at the end of that path is a cabin. And in the basement of that cabin is a princess. You're here to slay her. If you don't, it will be the end of the world.
Does it? Are you a monarchist? Is slaying a princess that much worse than slaying a fisherman or a miller or a seamstress? If anything, slaying a princess is much better than slaying a seamstress. Seamstresses contribute something of value to society. I'm talking about the end of everything as we know it. No more birds, no more trees, and perhaps most problematically of all, no more people. You have to put an end to her. Don't linger on the specifics. You have a job to do here. Just get in there and do what needs to be done. We're all counting on you. Look, you're already on the path that leads to the cabin. Why would you be here if it weren't to complete a very important task? You've made it this far, you might as well reach the end of your journey. While I appreciate the mental exercise, we are running up against a bit of a ticking clock. Nevertheless, let me assure you, the princess is locked up because she's dangerous. She is not dangerous because she's locked up. And before you decide to waste even more of our time by asking how I know that, let me suggest a more pragmatic lens through which to view this situation. Causality doesn't matter here, because the end result is the same no matter what led us up to this point. If the princess leaves the cabin, the world will end, and there is no changing that. It's no use arguing semantics over a metaphorical chicken or egg, because the egg is hatched and it's about to ruin everything. Unless, of course, you do your job and slay her. Oh, if only that were the case, but I don't make the rules. I have to say I'm surprised at your reluctance thus far, but unfortunately for the both of us, you're the only one who can pull this off. Like I said, I don't make the rules, no matter how much I wish I did. Are you serious? No, you have to do it. Of course I haven't. Why would I even consider that? Nobody wants the world to end. I mean, maybe some people do, like nihilists, or very, very evil people, but surely you're not one of those, right? Yes, but you'll have to slay her before you get it. It's a secret, but I think you'll like it. It's a special reward, just for you. And whatever you think it might be, I can promise you it's going to be even better than your wildest imagination. Then I guess we'll just have to see what happens, but a word of warning. If you go in prepared to hear her out, she could easily trap you in her web of lies, and the more you listen to her honeyed words, the harder it'll be to pull yourself out. Then each and every one of us is doomed. So sure, go, talk to her, see how that turns out for all of us. You make your way up the short path to the cabin. You'll find the princess within. We're not going to go through with this, right? She's a princess. We're supposed to save princesses, not slay them. Ignore him. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
The interior of the cabin is almost entirely bare. The air is stale and musty, and the floor and walls are painted in a fine layer of dust. The only furniture of note is a plain wooden table. Perched on that table is a pristine blade. The blade is your implement. You'll need it if you want to do this right. The door to the basement creaks open, revealing a staircase faintly illuminated by an unseen light in the room below. This is an oppressive place. The air feels heavy and damp, a hint of rot filtering from the ancient wood. If the princess really lives here, slaying her is probably doing her a favor. Her voice softly carries up the stairs.
Hello? Is someone there?
It's hypnotizing. It's the kind of voice you only have to hear once to remember it for the rest of your life. Don't let it fool you. It's all part of the manipulation. You're playing a dangerous game by coming here unarmed.
You are? It's been so long since anyone's come down here. I was starting to think they'd forgotten about me.
You walk down the stairs and lock eyes with the princess. There's a heavy chain around her wrist, binding her to the far wall of the basement. She's beautiful. How could someone like this be a threat to anyone? I am begging you to stay focused. There's a lot riding on you here.
Hi. Do you think you can get me out of these chains? Okay. I don't see what that has to do with anything.
This is the only time this is ever going to happen, but I agree with the princess. That's hardly relevant. Okay, but actually, what has she been eating? She has to eat, right? The princess hesitates before responding. She doesn't know. She's been down here too long to have any idea of what she'd do in another life. She knows what she'd do. She's just searching for whatever answer she thinks you want to hear.
Are you looking for the truth, or are you looking for the right answer? Because with the dynamic we have going on here, I don't think the specifics of what I do really matter. It's not like you'd believe me. Oh.
She pauses, carefully formulating her words before she responds.
You can address me as Your Royal Highness. Or you can just call me Princess if Your Royal Highness is too formal.
Is Princess her name or her title? What if it's both? Could you imagine being named Princess Princess?
Like I said, you can call me Princess if you'd like. I'm sorry, I've been down here so long, I guess I've just forgotten. I must have a name, though. Everyone has a name.
Okay, that's weird. She hadn't even thought to pick a name for herself. Hopefully you're starting to see that she can't be trusted. Go back upstairs, get the blade, and slay her before it's too late.
why they threw me down here? But I don't want to hurt anyone. I like the world, I think. I don't remember much about it, to be honest. I've been down here for so long.
How long has she been locked away?
Did they tell you how I'm supposed to end the world?
I appreciate the vote of confidence.
What if they're bad reasons, though? If they had good reasons for thinking I was dangerous, wouldn't they have shared them with you? I don't want to hurt anyone. I just want to leave. At the end of the day, whatever the two of us have going on down here is about trust. Whoever sent you to slay me claimed I was a threat to the world, but they didn't tell you why. I don't trust that, and I don't think you do either, or you wouldn't have come down here to talk.
She has a point. We're talking like this for a reason.
So this shouldn't be about what I'd do if I got out of here, or me saying the right thing to convince you to save me. This is about how messed up this whole situation is. This is my life we're talking about. Do you really think I can even end the world? Why would I even want to? We both know that if there's people we can't trust in this situation, it's whoever locked me down here, and it's whoever sent you here. And those two groups are probably one and the same.
Don't let her turn the tables here. This isn't about trust. This is about risk. We stand to lose everything, all for the sake of one person, and a subjugating monarch, no less.
That seems like a pretty good compromise.
I don't think I could bear being down here that much longer.
Leaving her alive is too risky. If you don't deal with her soon, she will find a way out.
So I'm the only one who liked that idea.
One way or another, I'm going to find a way out of here. It would make it easier for both of us if you'd help. But if you don't, I can promise that you'll regret that decision.
You have to make a choice. Let's hope for all our sakes it's the right one. Can't be serious.
Thank you. Thank you. You won't regret this, I promise.
You're making a huge mistake.
No. I think you're doing the right thing.
You walk up to the chains binding the princess to the wall and give them a tug. They're large and heavy, far too solid for you to even imagine trying to break them apart.
I'm guessing you don't have the key?
Maybe it's somewhere upstairs.
Doubtful. Whoever locked the princess away down here intended for her to never see the light of day. They wouldn't have just left the key to her chains somewhere in the cabinet.
Okay. I'll be here. Good luck.
You attempt to make your way out of the basement, but the door at the top of the stairs slams shut. You hear the click of a lock sliding into place.
Is someone else here?
You try the door, but it's locked from the outside. Your shouts and pleas are met with silence. You're here to slay the princess, and you won't leave until the task is done. You make your way to the bottom of the stairs. This would have been so much easier if you'd just taken the blade like you were supposed to.
Easier for whom?
Easier for everyone. Look at the mess you're in.
I heard the door slam. They locked you down here too, didn't they?
There's a slight panic rising in the princess's voice.
If I could just get out of these chains, I know we could force our way out of here together.
She barely hesitates before raising her arm to her mouth, her teeth tearing through her limb with the determination of a trapped wolf. As she rips her flesh from her bone, a sound comes from behind you, the clang of bouncing metal. It's the blade from upstairs. You're not sure how it made its way down here, but if there's a time to strike, it's now. Or we could use it to free her. You won't like what happens if you do that. Fine. Against your better judgment, you place the blade against the ragged, self-inflicted wound on the princess's arm, just above the unyielding chain binding her to this place. You cut into her flesh. The blade is sharp, and it takes little effort to crack through the bone of her arm. Her limb falls to the ground, and the heavy chains follow suit. She didn't so much as utter a sound through the whole ordeal. No, she didn't. She smiles softly as her gaze meets yours, blood from her wounded arm dripping rhythmically to the ground. How is she still smiling after everything? It's like she isn't even bothered by what just happened.
Thank you. Now let's get out of here.
No, we won't have any of that. The stakes are too high. You can't just let her escape into the world. No, I can't just let her escape into the world. As the princess approaches the bottom stair, your body steps forward and raises the blade. Wait, this isn't fair. You can't just do that. Watch me.
What are you doing?
Stop that.
Something's come over you, hasn't it? You know you don't have to do this, right?
Your body lunges forward, the blade held low, ready to sink into her heart. But the princess dodges, stumbling back against the wall before the blade has a chance to connect. Stop it! Stop trying to resist me. I'm trying to get you out of here alive. The blade! Move the blade! As your body remains frozen in stubborn resistance, the princess takes a cautious step forward.
We both know this isn't you.
She nervously reaches towards you and takes the blade from your infuriatingly rigid hands. What are you doing?
I'm sorry. I'll try to be quick.
She plunges it into your chest, tearing through flesh and sinew. It is agony. But you aren't dead yet.
Oh no! I'm so sorry.
Stay strong. We can tough it out until it's done. For her sake. For her sake? Don't you start pretending that dying a painful death is some sort of heroic gesture. The two of you have literally doomed everyone. Whatever. She sinks the blade into your chest again and again and again, and you feel every inch of burning pain that slices its way into your body.
I'm sorry.
She doesn't know how to use a knife, does she? Apparently not, though it doesn't matter how sloppy her knife work is, does it? A stab wound is still a stab wound. It won't be long before you bleed out.
I'm so sorry.
With one last thrust of the knife, your legs give out beneath you. You collapse to the floor, your blood pooling around you, your limbs unresponsive. The princess stares down at your ruined chest as tears carve rivulets of pink down her blood-spattered cheeks. It can't just end like this, right? Oh, that's rich coming from you. As much as I'd prefer for things to have gone differently, I can't deny the reality of what's happened. The two of you made your choice. It's over. Everything goes dark, and you die. You're on a path in the woods, and at the end of that path is a cabin. And in the basement of that cabin is a princess. You're here to slay her. tricks? What on earth are you talking about? We just met for the first time. If he doesn't remember what happened, then maybe it's best to keep it that way.
Yes, he didn't approve of us last time, did he? If we're going to save our beloved, we'll have to be sneaky about it.
Our beloved? Yes, you'll have to be very sneaky about your intentions if you're going to try and save the princess.
Ah, so all of the cards are on the table. Then you should know that we and the princess are in love, and the four of us will be foiling any and all assassination attempts you've got in the works.
We'll see about that. Whatever you do, just be sure to ignore him specifically. It sounds like he's the sort who'd sacrifice the whole world for a peck on the cheek.
What can I say? A world without love is a world that isn't worth saving.
Those are two very different questions, but fine, I'll indulge you if that's what it takes to get you moving. Let's say for a moment that this really is the second time you've met me, or at least a version of me. You died last time, which probably only happened because you didn't listen to me.
You were the one who did us in, villain.
Well, not you in the literal sense, but you did everything you could to stop us from rescuing her. Oh, I wonder why. Maybe it's because the entire world was at stake. No lone princess is worth that price.
I beg to differ.
I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just going to take a deep breath and assume that whoever is making the decisions here has the common sense to ignore your protestations. Anyway, I believe your second question was, what's the point of doing anything? If you're asking that, it sounds to me like you're making the rather dangerous assumption that your actions last time around didn't have any consequences. What do you mean? Of course there weren't any consequences. You forced the princess to kill us, and now everyone's right back where they started. That sounds pretty consequence-free to me. Yes, but in this purely hypothetical scenario, that begs the question of how you got back here. Did time simply rewind itself, or were you instead transported to a different world entirely? If it's the latter, what do you think happened after you died? Do you think the people there lived happily ever after? Or do you think that the princess, left unhindered, brought about the end to everyone and everything, just like I told you she would?
She would never. She's a perfect angel that you cruelly imprisoned as part of some convoluted, dastardly scheme.
Convoluted? I don't know how this premise could be any more simple. Princess bad, stop her, save everyone. Just be quick about it. People locked her in that basement, and I told you what this place is. It's a path in the woods. Don't overcomplicate things. Look, I'm not supposed to say this, but it's because you're special. You're the only person capable of doing this. Call it a prophecy, if that helps. But it's just the way things are. Oh, I didn't know we were special. Of course you're special. Why else would you be here?
Calling us special isn't going to make us friends, even if it did feel nice.
Oh, believe me, the last thing I want is for you and I to be friends. But I'm a professional, and I'm not going to let my dislike for you get in the way of helping you save the world. She just can. Believe me, I wish I could tell you more, but you'll just have to trust that what I'm saying is true, and that, despite it all, you're fully up to the task that's been given to you.
Maybe it's her beauty that threatens the world.
Sure, it's her beauty. Why not? And before you ask, no, we can't just keep her down there. If you don't slay her, she's going to find a way out. It's unfortunate, I know, but it's just the way it is. I've told you everything you need to know. Going into more detail would just overcomplicate an otherwise very simple situation and make your job more difficult. Not to sound like a broken record, but the less you know about her, the better things will go for all of us.
I know it sounds like I'm hiding something, but you're just going to have to take me at my word. Great. Now, if you don't mind, the whole world is waiting with bated breath for you to save it from ruin. That's right, you can't stop all of us. We're going to sweep her off her feet if it's the last thing anyone does. Are these really the sorts of people you'd like to align yourself with? You're not at the cabin yet. You still have plenty of time to reflect on the situation. I just hope for all our sakes that you make the right call. Are we running away? What are you doing? We have to save her! Seriously? You're just going to turn around and leave? Do you even know where you're going? Fine. I suppose you just quietly continue down the path away from the cabin. That's strange. It looks like this path also leads to the cabin. How convenient. Everything's back on track again. Maybe the world can still be saved after all. You're really keen on wasting everyone's time, aren't you? It's remarkably selfish, if you ask me. I've already outlined the stakes of the situation. If you don't do your job, everyone dies. Like, dies. Forever. But fine, you turn around and trek back down the path you came.
Wait, something isn't right. Can you still hear me? You're supposed to wind up back at the cabin again. Everything is getting... What's going on? Where are we? Oh, I don't like this one bit. There's not a single damsel in sight. Well done.
You're on a path in the woods. You're here to slay her. That's the spirit. You make your way up the short path to the cabin. You'll find the princess within. The interior of the cabin is... The blade is your... You take the blade from the table. It'd be rather difficult to slay the princess and save the world without it. The door to the basement creaks open, revealing a staircase faintly illuminated by an unseen... Her voice...
Who's there?
She sounds dangerous. It's almost as if she's the one in charge down here.
Don't let it fool you. It's all part of the manipulation.
Don't be a stranger. It's been so long since I've had any visitors. Come on down.
You walk down the stairs and lock eyes with the princess. There's a heavy chain around her wrist, binding her to the far wall of the basement.
She's so coldly beautiful.
Is she really a threat to the world?
Focus on the task at hand.
And there you are. Are you here to kill me or something? That isn't a good idea. Just drop the knife, and maybe the two of us can talk things out.
She's right, we shouldn't. We should just drop the blade. Don't you dare.
It's fine. We can decide what we want to do after we talk to her. Maybe she really is a monster. Killing someone in cold blood isn't very becoming of us.
The blade tumbles out of your trembling hands and drops to the floor with an unceremonious clang.
Thank you. Maybe now we can just talk.
Against your better judgment, you step forward to speak with the princess face to face. Unarmed.
We'll be fine.
I don't know what you're hoping to accomplish here, but I can assure you there's no reasoning with her. Just make sure you don't forget about the blade on the floor. You're going to need it.
So here we are. What an awkward start to a relationship. Don't jump to any weird conclusions. We're two people who have met each other. By definition, we have a relationship. Do you? So, you're not going to share? How pointless. If you want to talk, I'll talk. But this isn't talking. Too long.
Note the lack of detail. You can't trust her. You can't. Don't bother.
I'm guessing you don't have the key then. I'm sure there's a key somewhere around here, and if there isn't, well, we can always put that knife to good use.
Her sharp eyes settle on the edge of the blade.
She isn't suggesting what I think she's suggesting, right?
She is. I'm sure of it. She hesitates before answering.
You can address me as Your Royal Highness, or Her Majesty. Any honorific should do, really.
Again, she offers no specifics. No matter how hard you try, you'll never get a straight answer out of her.
Oh, have you decided what to do with me?
You know why you're here.
That seems like a pretty good compromise.
Leaving her alive is too risky. If you don't deal with her soon, she will find a way out.
One way or another, I'm going to find a way out of here. And if you don't, I can promise that you'll come to regret.
You have to make a choice. You charge the princess, blade trembling in your hand, but you've already lost the battle. She casually sidesteps your thrust before knocking you to the ground with a single blow from her elbow.
We shouldn't have hesitated.
But she doesn't stop there. She kicks you a few times for good measure, the pointed tip of her shoes feeling like a pickaxe against your fracturing bones, making sure you stay down. As you lie, crushed and broken on the basement floor, the princess kneels on your throat, with the kind of weight you didn't think her slight frame could possibly possess. As you gasp for air, she eyes you,
with an intense curiosity. You shouldn't have let that fear creep into your heart. You had the upper hand, and now look at you.
Is this really the best you could do? Look at you. Completely broken. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little disappointed.
She applies more pressure, slowly squeezing what's left of your life out of your lungs. This is the end, isn't it? I'm afraid it is. Everything goes dark, and you die. You're on a path in the woods, and at the end of you're here to slay her. Again? People don't die twice. You haven't even met the princess, and I hardly think she'd be capable of killing someone as skilled and courageous as yourself. If he doesn't remember what happened, then maybe it's best to keep it that way. You know I can hear you, right? It's going to be a lot harder than you think to keep secrets from me. What does it matter what he knows? There's nothing we can do to stop her. She's just going to kill us again. She is not going to kill you unless you let her. But slaying the princess and saving the world is going to be much more difficult than it has to be if you spend the whole time second-guessing yourself. Those are two very different questions, but fine. Let's say for a moment that this really... If it's the... just because... A warning. Before you go any further. She will lie, she will cheat, and she will do everything in her power to stop you from slaying her. Don't believe a word she says. We might as well just pledge ourselves to her and stop pretending we're capable of doing anything in this situation. She probably doesn't even need to try to overpower us. Can we tone down the pessimism just a smidge? I'm not being a pessimist. I'm just being realistic. You're being annoying. Just ignore their bickering, and whatever you do, don't pledge yourself to her. I cannot stress enough how absolutely catastrophic that would be for everyone, yourself included. I agree. If she's wrongfully imprisoned, then we should rescue her, but if he's telling the truth, we shouldn't just hand her the world on a silver platter. Rescue her? Given the stakes of the situation, there isn't really a difference between rescuing her and pledging yourself to her. Either would be terrible. So please try to ignore both of those knuckleheads and focus on saving the world. Let's not make this harder than it has to be. If that's what you want, I guess I don't have a say here. The interior of the cabin is larger and more grandiose than its humble exterior would suggest. The only furniture of note is a massive marble altar with a pristine blade perched on its edge. The blade is your implement. You'll need it if you want to do this right. Why do we feel so small? We don't feel small. We are small. Maybe that's because you haven't actually been here. I hope this means you'll finally drop that ridiculous past life nonsense. You haven't died, and you certainly haven't been killed by the princess. You take the blade from the altar. It would be difficult to slay the princess and save the world without a weapon. You walk up to the wall next to the basement door. It's a wall. There isn't much to see here. What are you talking about? This isn't a wall. It's a mirror. Or at least it'll be a mirror once we wipe off that layer of grime. You reach forward and rub your hand against the cabin wall. I hope you know how ridiculous you look right now. We should count ourselves lucky. Some things are better left unseen. The door to the basement creaks open, revealing a spiral staircase, its steps almost as deep as you are tall. The smell of incense drifts up from below. For a moment, you almost feel at ease. This is actually kind of nice. It's still a stone basement. If the princess lives here, slaying her is probably doing her a favor. Her booming voice rolls up the stairs.
Is that a guest I hear? Don't linger on the stairs. Come down and witness me.
You weren't kidding when you said it was booming. She wasn't like this last time. We need to get down there. She wants us to see her. We need to see her. Should we be worried about your sudden change in attitude? Just a few minutes ago you were going on about how pointless everything was. Now you want to go down there. It doesn't matter what that little voice says. He's not the one making the decisions. Though if his ramblings get you to the princess, they get you to the princess. Making your way down the spiral staircase is a time-consuming and exhausting effort, every step requiring you to clamber over one edge before dropping to the next. But soon the end comes into view, and you tumble to the bottom, entering the vast, temple-like room beyond. The princess towers over you, almost glowing in the weak starlight, her figure framed by a stained glass window. Her long hair billows around her, and a chain binds her wrist to the far wall. The chain is nothing to her. It might as well be a toy for all the good it would do. I told you it was pointless to resist her.
The little bird has returned to me. I wonder what he wants. You've brought that knife again, even though you know it's useless. Such charming audacity. Drop it!
As if on command, the blade slips from your grasp. It clatters uselessly to the floor. But we didn't drop it. We decided to grip it tighter, remember? Are you really just going to let that happen to us? I have a duty to report facts as facts, and the fact is that you dropped the blade. Of course we dropped it. She's so much more than us. You wouldn't understand what it feels like to be in her presence. Oh, I understand what's going on, and you'd better snap yourself out of it.
Kneel.
On her command, you fall to the floor, knees painfully connecting with hard stone.
That's my good little bird. Now, why don't we talk? The last time we met, you told me I was destined to end the world. That thought wrapped itself around my heart. It has pulled at me since the moment I squeezed the life out of your broken lungs. I could feel its fundamental truth awaken me. The collapse of the old is a necessary prelude to the birth of the new, and the world as it is now is overdue for alterations. It's time for me to seize my destiny. And you, little bird, will help me seize it.
Well, that gives away the game, doesn't it? It certainly does. And beyond that, it more than lends credence to our conversation in the woods. I don't love the thought that in some other reality you failed to destroy her, but what's done is done. I can only hope it helped you learn a valuable lesson. You are the only one who can deal with her. And if you don't, well, she's let you know what will happen, hasn't she? And you shouldn't have trusted us with her destruction. She is inevitable. Can't you feel it? He's being melodramatic, but he's not exactly wrong, is he? What are we supposed to do to stop her? Okay, first things first, you're going to have to stuff those pessimistic thoughts someplace far, far away and commit yourself to what needs to be done. The stakes of the situation should be perfectly clear to everyone now. If you're going to save the world, you have to have faith that you can pull this off. You can't win a battle that you've already lost in your mind.
Know the limits of your privilege, little bird. There's an empty place at my side for you to fill, if you'll have it. But it is not a place for an equal. It is a place for something worthy to be kept. A priest, perhaps, or a pet. This isn't about desire. This is about what I am. And I have little interest in discussing destiny with one that cannot see the divine truth that shines in my heart. All you have to do is break these chains and set me free.
Don't be rude. Of course she can. It's not rude to question someone who's apparently trying to end the world. That's exactly why it's rude. We should know our place.
I can, easily. But that isn't what I want to do. The story of a terrible and bountiful god unbounded of her own will is no story at all. It's not worthy of everything I am, or everything I'm bound to become. It isn't even worthy of what I was. The destruction in Genesis that's to follow in my wake is deserving of a song that can echo for eternity. The song of you, being so struck by my glory, so overwhelmed by what I am, that you feel you must deliver me into the world. And from your act of utter devotion and submission springs a new dawn, a better dawn. Submit now, submit later. It makes no difference. Because in the end, no matter how vainly you struggle against me, my will triumphs over yours. Your will was so easily broken. Am I that magnificent? All you need to do now is break my chains.
If this is what you want, then I guess there's not much else for me to say. No, you can't just give in to her. Not when the stakes are so high. Not when you're so close. I won't let you do this.
There's still something in the way. A greasy film inside of you where it doesn't belong, trying to conceal you from me. Is that a person? No, it used to be a person. It's something different now. An echo.
Is she talking about you? That's impossible. She's not supposed to be able to interact with me.
You're a small one, aren't you? A shriveling little worm stretched beyond its limits, trying to control things that it can't understand.
No. What are you talking about?
I don't care what you are. You're mine.
Ah!
Rise, my little bird.
Without hesitation, you're brought to your feet.
Break my chains.
And how are we supposed to do that? All we have is a blade.
All you need to do is believe it's been done.
There's nothing to be sorry about. This is how it was always going to be. And it is good. Alright, I'm done with this. I'm just gonna go sit in the corner. Let me know if we get our agency back.
You poor, wretched little thing. You already do believe. You've always believed. All you have to do is open the last door to your heart.
It's easy. And once you let her in, you'll be safe and free forever. Please don't do this. Her chains shatter, and the cuff falls from her wrist. She is loose, and the end is upon us.
What a good disciple you are. Come, It's time for us to leave. Nothing. And then, everything.
She's gone. Where did she go? Should we try and find her? And there's that mirror again. Why is it here? Why now? He is. Does that mean the world ended? Figures the world would end and leave us with all this nothing. You're right. She's gone. It's just us and that awful thing. Feel anxious. Does anyone else feel anxious? There's something dreadful about it. I don't think you should. I don't want to look at us. I'm begging you, don't do this. It's different now. It feels, I don't know, final.
Something returns to the long quiet. It has surrendered its path of annihilation and brings me the gift of a fragile vessel. How can the world have ended if we are talking? I am solitary lights in an empty city. What are you? I think that you are like me. We are oceans, reduced to shallow creeks. Yes, nerves and fibers to feel the worlds beyond, perspectives to make my own. This one is dominance, a figure capable of bending everything to her will. She will make for a terrifying and divine heart. Do not mourn her, for she would not be able to mourn you. Vague recollections, empty tunnels without a mouth. I am sorry if I frightened you. I know only that they are. I have only just now stirred to consciousness. I could not have trapped you here, and I too yearn to be free. She is part of me, and part of me is her. You speak in circles. Does it matter where one thing begins and another ends? You are the only thing I have ever known. The space we're in is vacant. Nothing comes here but us. Nothing, as we are. But I know that there are worlds beyond us, and that we are meant to reach them. There is no exit, but this vessel is a creature of perception. She can make you forget, if only you believe her to be able to. Bring me more perspectives so that I may be whole, and perhaps then we will know our freedom. I have not lived. I am not afraid to die. More than you have found, but less than there are to find. I am infinite. The rest will find their own way home. Then we will be here forever, as we are now, unfinished, dry, hollow. Everything, until we meet again. You ask of things that cannot be done. To destroy is merely to reshape, to remold. How can I know? I am flickers in something sprawling and unilluminated. She asks that I tell you to remember her. You won't.
You're on a path in the woods. You're here to slay her. You make your way up the short path to the cabin. You'll find the princess within. The interior of the cabin. The blade is your You take the blade. The door to the basement. Her voice.
Who's there?
She sounds dangerous. Don't let it fool you.
Oh, are you now? Why don't you come down and let me take a look at you?
Great job. You gave away the element of surprise. Good luck, hero. You walk down the stairs and lock eyes with the princess. There's a heavy chain around her wrist, binding her to the far wall of the basement. She's so coldly beautiful. Focus on the task at hand.
You weren't kidding when you said you were here to kill me. How about you drop the knife, and the two of us just talk?
Look how reasonable she's being. We should just drop the blade and talk things out. Don't you dare. It's fine. We can decide what we want to do. You ignore the trembling in your hands and tighten your grip on the blade.
You poor thing. Your hands are shaking. Are you scared of me? Because you should be.
You step forward, your grip on the blade tightening as you steel your resolve.
I'm probably chained up in this basement for a reason, right? And if that knife is the only weapon you have, you'll have to get close enough to use it. So, you should just drop it. Best not to risk finding out what I can do.
She's unarmed. If you hesitate now, it'll be too late. End this. Doubt, unfortunately, clouds your thoughts as you attempt to run her through. A moment of distraction and hesitation is all she needed to sidestep your thrust and deliver a catastrophic blow to your jaw. It feels like you've been hit with a sledgehammer. You can feel bone grinding on bone where your jaw has been fractured. Holy shit, that hurts! Though she's unarmed, the shock of that first strike is enough to stagger you, putting you and the princess on somewhat equal footing.
Your blade slashes through the air again and again, and her fists connect with your body as many times or more, each impact as heavy as that first bone-crushing hit. We can still turn this around. Are you serious? It's a good idea. We've taken some bad hits, but we've dealt some too. She has to be feeling it more than we are. Let's regroup upstairs. If we're lucky, maybe she'll just bleed out. Fine. You make a mad dash to the basement stairs, the princess's chains rattling as she tries to chase you, but pulling taut much too soon for her to catch up.
Do you really think you can just walk out of here?
She steps towards you, ignoring her chains. They creak and strain as she pulls against them until finally they break. The links clatter to the floor. Useless. She's free. Hurry. You push your broken body as she closes in and just barely manage to pass the threshold of the basement doorway before she catches up to you. You close the basement door, locking it behind you and quickly barricading it with the heavy wooden table that once held the blade. Okay, we can make this work. She has an awful wound and we have all the time in the world. Playing jailkeeper for a while might make things a little easier. You settle in against the far wall to watch the basement door. It isn't long before you start to drift off, your eyelids heavy with fatigue. But sleep doesn't come. Instead, your rest is broken by a piercing, wailing voice calling out to you from the other side of the door.
I know you're still there. Why don't you make things easier on yourself and let me out? It's not like this little door will hold for very long anyways. It's probably a good idea to try to get back on my good side.
She sounds terrifying. Like she's less like the princess you saw and more like something out of a nightmare. As she violently rattles the door, you do your best to shut her out of your mind.
When I get out of here, I'm going to pick you apart piece by piece. I won't forget what you did, and I'll never forgive it. You don't know the kind of enemy you've made tonight.
It doesn't sound like she's getting any weaker. No, it doesn't. Just ignore her. Maybe the banging and wailing will stop if you just don't pay attention to it. You put the princess's threats out of your mind as best you can and huddle up against the wall. You jolt awake in the middle of the night to silence in the cabin. The ruckus has stopped, and the door to the basement is ajar, its lock broken, and the table shoved out of the way. Where is she?
Thanks for helping me get out of that awful basement.
You try and stumble to your feet, but as the princess draws near, it's as though your body simply stops working. It isn't all at once. The paralysis comes in waves. First your toes go numb, and then your feet, and then your legs. You lie prone on the floor of the cabin, unable to do anything but witness her approach. Whose side are you on? Yours, of course. But I have a duty to uphold the truth. Lying about the facts of the situation doesn't change them.
So helpless. I can take my time with you, can't I?
She steps closer, one silent footfall at a time, cocking her head in curiosity as you feel your organs shutting down one by one.
Or maybe I can't take my time with you. You don't look well. A little green around the gills. What a shame. If you'd only helped me get out of here, we could have done such wonderful things together.
Your lungs stop drawing in breath, and your heart freezes in your chest. You have seconds left.
I'd say better luck next time, but we both know this is the end, don't we?
It can't be. This can't actually be how everything ends. I'm sorry, but it is. Everything goes dark, and you die.
You're on a path in the woods.